Hey, what's going on? It's Sim here. Today, let's talk about the core email marketing flows that you want to have set up for your Shopify store. We're going to be looking at the exact builds that you want to have if you were to do this in Klaviyo or any other email service provider. And we're also going to look at some examples of the content that you want to be sending in those email flows, so you kind of get a grasp of how to do it. Before we get into it, so here's a 30-second overview of why you should listen to me. So I'm the founder of eCommerce, your email plus SMS marketing partner. I'm a retention marketer for e-commerce brands. I also manage email lists and automations for some of the coolest brands in the industry. And I'm also an official Klaviyo, Omnisend, and Shopify partner. So let's get into it. So why should you even care about email automations? Well, there was a study done by Omnisend, which measured the conversion rates and engagement of the email automations. And there was also a study done by Klaviyo, which said that the average conversion rate of an email campaign is around 0.07%, which is very low. And if you look at this study here, then you can see that on average, automated flows generate 30 times more revenue per recipient compared to your standard email campaigns. So here you have the conversion rates here and the type of automations here. So essentially, if you don't have an email automation set up, then there's a high chance you're leaving a significant amount of revenue on the table. What email flows are for? So there's usually three reasons. So the first one is recovering lost sales. So the perfect example of this is your cart abandonment or your checkout abandonment, your browser abandonment flow. This is essentially aimed at users that already have been to your website, and depending on if they just view your products or they already add something to cart or they're already at checkout, you send them an automated follow-up email telling them that they forgot to finish their purchase. So this is mainly for recovering lost sales. Then it's increased order value and customer lifetime value. So this is mainly done by your post-purchase flow, where you can essentially recommend different products that you have and get them to make that second purchase. And the third one, which describes this meme over here, is set and forget. So basically you can set these up. You don't even really have to optimize them. Ideally you want to, but you don't have to, and you can kind of just go on about your life and they will be generating revenue for you. As long as you have acquisition system set up, they will be generating revenue for you in the background. The 80-20 approach. So the way I like to look at a lot of things in life and also email automations is that 80% of your email automation revenue will come from 20% of the flows. So essentially what that means is there are only a few flows that you want to have set up, which we're also going to be talking about. So these are, which I like to call the core four. It's the cart abandonment flow, your browser abandonment flow, your welcome flow, and your post-purchase flow. So these are the four email automations that we're going to be covering. You might have heard other email marketers talk about all kinds of like cool flows, like maybe like a replenishment flow or a birthday flow or whatever, or win back flow. Those are usually flows that they sound good on paper, but if you really want to grow your e-commerce brand, then you investing your time setting up like a birthday flow is not going to grow your brand that much versus you coming up with a better meta ad, whatever. So I like to keep it simple. The only core four flows that you want to have are these four here. Set these up, forget about them, and then optimize from time to time and see what their performance is. So let's talk about the welcome flow. So when describing these flows, I like to use the when, what, why, how framework. So the welcome flow is usually triggered when the user signs up to your email list. The user can sign up to your email list in two ways. Mostly it's via a pop-up form, or when they opt in the checkout page and they already purchased from you. The important thing to note here is that the welcome flow will only go to a non-buyer, so the person who usually signs up via a pop-up form. So this usually consists of 5 to 7 automated emails sent across 10 to 14 days. This is usually the window that you have to convert them into a buyer. If you don't, then it will become more increasingly hard and they will just be dead weight on your email list. The goal here is to convert new subscribers into buyers. And how we're going to be doing that is by first delivering the incentive. As I mentioned, the pop-up form, you usually need to offer an incentive for them to give them the email address. And then you're going to be introducing your hero product, meaning your best-selling product in the flow, your brand mission. You're going to be using some social proof, some testimonials and reviews, and also answering any objections that they might have. So basically, you're going to be treating it as a first date. You want to engage them first before you ask them to marry you or whatever. So here are some examples of pop-up forms that I talked about. So the first one here is, and ideally what you want to do is before they sign up to your email list, you want to assess their intent, meaning you want to add a quiz to your pop-up form, asking them what is their biggest problem or challenge that they're dealing with. So example here is 8 Sleep. What they have done is they have added a quiz asking what's your biggest sleep challenge. And depending on the problem that the user has, they can then personalize the welcome flow and deliver more relevant email content and also product recommendations. You can also ask, for example, who are you shopping for? Is it for yourself? Is it for someone else? Depending on that, you can like recommend gifts in the welcome flow. And then here you have another pop-up form. This doesn't have a quiz, but this has a different offer. So for example, here you have unlock a surprise, and here you have a welcome offer, like a kit that you can get in exchange for giving your email address. So you can test different offers depending on what you sell, but the most important thing is that you have an incentive, because otherwise there's no motivation to give an email address to you, unless they're like really big fans of your brand. If you want to add a quiz, then a few softwares that do this, which I'm not sponsored by or whatever. One of them is called Amped, although they were recently acquired by MailChimp, so that only works if you use MailChimp currently. Or if the other one is called Alia. So Alia pop-ups, I think they support more platforms. So if you want to add if you want to create a nice looking pop-up form and get like 10 to 15% opt-in rates, then I suggest you check those two out. So here's an overview of what the welcome flow could look like. Just an example. So the trigger here is added to newsletter, and the filter, as I mentioned, it's important that you don't want to send this to already people that have already bought from you. So the filter is placed order 0 times. And the first email, we trigger this right away when they sign up to your email list, and we're going to be delivering the incentive with 0 friction. Notice I mentioned this here, but ideally you already want to deliver them the incentive in the pop-up form. You don't want to make them check their email. That's only what like email marketers do, so they can then have the welcome email get attributed for the sale. You don't want to do that. You want to deliver the incentive already in the pop-up form. Then you're going to be introducing your brand mission and showcasing your front-end product, meaning sort of like your best-selling product. Then you're going to be waiting 1 day. As I mentioned, you can delay also for 2 days or 3 days, depending on what you sell. Is it more expensive? So email 2, you're going to be sending a personalized message from the founder. I like to do it as plain text because it's really conversational, it's really relatable, and most importantly, it adds like a personality or a face to your brand. And there you're going to be sharing your founding story of what inspired you to start your brand. But you also want to really like make it about them. So for example, if you were struggling with a problem before, then chances are your audience is also struggling with the problem that you had before. So email 3, we're going to be waiting another day and sending email 3. So here you're going to be focusing on the problem that you solve. If your product is like problem solution type, you're going to also be using social proof and testimonials, some of your best testimonials. What matters here is that you tie the social proof to the problem and to really show the review that got those results. We're going to be waiting 2 days here and sending email 4. So here you're going to be sharing one customer story. So you're going to do like a deep dive of the before and after results. And then here is when you start to create urgency around the welcome offer, saying that it's about to expire. Then email 5, you're going to send another plain text email from the founder, and you're going to answering top 3 objections that the user might have. So the best way to find any objections that there are, you could be asking your customer support team what kind of questions people are coming with, or you can also look at your meta ads or your TikTok ads or any advertising platforms where you can see the comments. And they're also usually great hints for finding objections that people have before they buy from you. So you want to answer those objections in the email, and you can also offer to reply to the email, so they don't like have to go through a FAQ generic page on your website or whatever. Then email 6, you want to add a last chance redeem welcome offer, and you want to create urgency. A lot of brands don't do this, and it's a mistake. You want to have an email where you just double down on the urgency, saying that the welcome offer that you gave in the pop-up is about to expire. And you can also have like a visual board here where you like give a deadline or like a countdown bar to show it visually that how long they have left to buy. So the common mistakes here is friction. The less friction there is to deliver the incentive, the better. Also, I've seen a lot of brands, they only have one welcome email in the flow, which is not good. As I mentioned, you want to warm them up or you want to nurture them. And then there's no urgency. So you want to really start driving down the urgency from the 4th email onwards. So here are some examples. So you can do plain text or design-based, whatever works for your brand. I like to do plain text because it's just more conversational and people like to engage with them. So here's an example from Upcircle. This is the brand story email 2 that I talked about. This is email 1 that we talked about. So the first email where you just deliver the incentive, and you can also see this as this is more design-based here. Okay, so let's talk about when the user adds something to their cart, but they don't buy. So let's talk about this email flow. So studies show that about 70 to 80% of carts get abandoned nowadays. And what's the reason behind that? Well, usually what brand owners think is that the user just isn't interested anymore in the product that they have. That can be the case, but there are also other reasons why users abandon their carts. And these are because they just simply forget, like something happened, they didn't find their payment card, or also what could be is that they had some questions about like shipment and stuff like that, and you just didn't have time to browse. So all in all, they just forget about you and they move on with their life. And now is the time for you to remind them that they forgot to buy. So when this happens, as I mentioned, when users abandon their shopping cart, and this usually consists of 3 to 5 automated emails sent across 7 to 10 days is the sweet spot. And then goal here, recover lost sales. And how we're going to be doing that is we're going to be tackling any sales objections, meaning we're going to answer in the questions that they might have, going to using social proof, so throwing in a few testimonials, answering questions, and basically anything that gets them over the hump. So again, here is what the flow might look like. Here's an example. So trigger, added to cart. Filters, so these are important. You want to have started checkout 0 times since starting this flow. So you don't want them to already have started the checkout. You can set up a separate flow with very similar content where the trigger is started checkout. So you have both covered, the people that abandoned the cart and abandoned the checkout. Place started 0 times since starting this flow and has not been in the flow in the past 30 days. So PS here, what I would mention is that in Klaviyo, if you use Klaviyo and you want to create a cart abandonment flow, then the cart abandonment template that they have is actually the trigger is checkout started. So actually their cart abandonment template is actually a checkout abandonment flow. So what you want to do is you want to add a small snippet into your website, which doesn't influence your site speed or whatever. It's really small. And then once you install that snippet, that will trigger a new action in Klaviyo called added to cart. And that's when you can create an added to cart flow also in Klaviyo. So you have 2 flows covered there. So the email 1, usually you want to wait 1 hour. You can also try waiting 30 minutes. You can also test the time delays. I like to wait 1 hour, and then we're going to send in first email where we remind them of the product and the action you want them to take. So basically you just remind them of that they forgot to, that they checked out your products, but they didn't buy yet. And then just the action that you wanted to take, you want to direct them back to their cart. You're going to be showcasing the dynamic product that they left behind and reducing any friction and risk. So if you, for example, if you have like a money back guarantee, you can also mention it already in the first email. The main thing here is you don't want to be using any discount codes, at least in the first 3 emails, I would say. You want them to make that purchase without giving away your profit margins. Then you're going to be waiting 1 day. Sending email 2. So here is again a personal message from the founder. I want to make it plain text again, really using like your brand voice and really making it conversational. You're going to be answering common objections here as well, and also including and reminding them of your brand mission. Email 3, again, waiting 1 day, then sending email 3. You're going to be focusing on the social proof, so including any relevant testimonials in the email, also focusing on the problem that you're solving and driving urgency on the cart expiring. So we're also going to be using urgency here, saying that they still have a chance to buy, but the cart is about to expire soon. Then we're going to be waiting 2 days and sending the email 4, where you communicate your unique selling point. So kind of like answering what makes your product different and really looking at the email and asking yourself, am I saying stuff that other brands cannot say? And that's, if the answer is yes, then you know you have a good USP. And here also you're going to be just doubling down on the urgency. So then this is your last chance to buy. Common mistakes. So time delays. A lot of brands, they wait too long before they send that first follow-up. Friction. So they start, for example, in email 1, they start adding different links and adding different shopping categories and recommending other products. I wouldn't do that personally because it just adds more friction. You want to make them just check out what they currently had already. And then only one email. So a lot of brands, they only have 1 or 2 emails. This is also a mistake. You want to follow up multiple times. And then using corporate language. So a lot of brands, they just use like template emails where it just sounds like you received an email from like a robot or AI. Like you want to make them purchase from you, and that's not really a great way to create a good shopping experience, at least in my opinion. So again, examples. So here you have text-based again. So as I mentioned, very personal. So this is an email from the founders, and you really just focus on the action that you want them to take, finishing your order and linking to the product. And here they have also had a discount code. Personally, I wouldn't do that in the first email. You can try that in like the later emails, but that's up to you. And then this is design based. So this is what this would look like. If you're really selling something visual like fashion or whatever, shoes, whatever, you can also add a picture here of the product. And then the main thing is you have a clear call to action that directs them back to their cart. Browse abandonment flow. Okay, so this is in terms of like the buying cycle, the cart abandonment flow is a little bit higher intent. So these are people, the browse abandonment includes people that have checked out your products, but they left the website without even adding something to the cart. So what this consists of is usually 2 to 3 automated emails sent across 7 days. And the goal here is basically to direct users back to your website and get them shopping again. And how we're going to be doing that is we're going to be recommending products that they might be interested in, answering objections, and also adding social proof. So the themes are very similar here. So again, this is an example flow. So the trigger here is viewed product and filters added to cart 0 times. So starting this flow, checkout started 0 times, starting this flow, place started 0 times, has not been in the flow 30 days. So it's similar to the cart abandonment flow. The only thing that you want to add here is that they haven't added to the cart yet. Then you're going to be waiting 4 hours here, and you're going to be sending the first email where again, you focus on the dynamic product they left behind. And you're also going to be focusing on the problem that you solve. You can also remind them of your brand mission if you want to. And you can also reduce any friction and risk, saying that you might offer like a free trial or on a money back guarantee on your product. Then waiting 1 day, email 2, you're going to be answering objections. As I mentioned, you can see them in your customer support tickets or your ads. Add comment sections, recommending other products. Here is when you want to recommend other products. Like in the cart abandonment flow, I wouldn't do that. But here, browse abandonment, they're less, the intent isn't as high. So you can recommend other products and just get them interested again and get them shopping again. You can also include your brand mission. And then email 3 is where you're going to be answering, showcasing social proof. So top 3 testimonials and risk reversal here. So if there's like a Black Friday, one tip that I would tell you here is that you can add urgency also to your browse abandonment flows, saying that there's limited stock available. And that just gets them to buy right away. So you give them a sense of urgency. So here's an example email by Newtonic. So this is more of like a funny email. If I can zoom in a bit here. Jesus Christ, how do you do that? Okay, so Newtonic, you ask still on the fence. So you say that they aren't convinced yet. And then here is like a funny angle that they used. So if you're unsure about Newtonic, here are some things you can do with the #1 productivity drink in the world. Remember their name on the first date, give ADHD imposter syndrome, feel like it's 9 a.m. even if it's 3:17 p.m. So the main thing here is, instead of making it so corporate, you can just also kind of have some fun with it. And if people open like an email like this, then the chance of them having a positive emotion, and you even just make them laugh and get them back on the website, is very high. So you want to create that positive emotion instead of just, throwing in a random follow-up. At least that's what I would do. Okay, so the final one is post-purchase flow. This is a very underrated flow, and a lot of brands, they neglect this because they just don't really know how to do it. There's the chance for you to get that first-time buyer to come back and make that second purchase and become a more profitable e-commerce business. So this happens this flow is triggered when the user makes a purchase. It usually consists of 6 to 8 automated emails sent across 90 days. And here the goal is to increase repeat customer revenue. And how we're going to be doing that is by creating a positive buying experience, collecting reviews, and cross-selling other products. So when we're talking about the post-purchase flow, how I like to look at it is in 30-day windows. So the first 0 to 30 days after the purchase is all about fulfillment. That means not angering the customer. You want to ensure that the product that they ordered, they receive the item on time and without any bad surprises. And also you want to make sure that you deliver on the promises that you made in your meta ads. So, and you want to use email to support that shopping experience. So for example, if you're selling sea salt, first of all, the trigger here is placed order. So existing customer. So you're selling sea salt, and the first email you send is usually going to be an order confirmation email. What I would do here is make it a plain text email from the founder, because this makes it really personal and it just feels great when someone receives an order confirmation email from the brand founder. What you can also do here is you can deliver a PDF guide. So for example, if I'm selling sea salt, can I send a free info product like an ebook on recipes that I can make with using the sea salt? Or if you are selling more like supplements or whatever, can you send them like a free diet guide, just to enhance that perceived value and create that positive shopping experience? Then you're going to be waiting 5 days and sending an email too, where you're giving product usage tips. So if you're, for example, if you're selling something like leather goods, for one brand, which we did is we gave like tips on how to maintain the leather. So sending like a routine of how to wash the leather, how to maintain the leather. If something happens, you spill something on the leather, how to take care of it. So that's also what people really, your customers will really appreciate. And then you're going to be waiting 2 weeks. And then once you're confident that they have used the product enough, then you can start asking for reviews. And you can send one email asking for the review, giving a reason why you're collecting reviews, because giving a reason usually increases compliance. So for example, here, if you sold sea salt before, then after 30 days, you're going to be introducing your pink salt, and you're just going to be cross-selling it. You don't want to you don't want to have any offers in the first email, and just to see if they buy. And then email 5, you're going to be waiting 2 weeks before sending that email 5, and then you're going to be following up using that same pink salt, selling that same pink salt. And then you're going to be throwing in like a discount, so 10% off, for example. In the meantime, while you're doing this, what I also recommend you do is you take your segment in Klaviyo, your existing customers, and you upload them to Meta, and you create retargeting ads around this same category B product. So you're going to be doing also Meta ads around pink salt. So you have like a multiple channel marketing approach. So after that first discount code, and you see if they don't buy, you're going to be waiting 2 more weeks, sending email 6, like a follow-up, and you're going to be switching up the offer. So for example, you can send an offer, buy one, get one free, or buy one, get 25% off pink salt, for example. So you're going to be making a better offer and see if they buy then. This is sort of like called the discount ladder, when you, first of all, you just introduce the product, there's no offer, then you offer like a small discount code, and then you switch up the offer, and then you make a juicier offer. And then if they don't buy, you're going to be waiting 1 more week, which is around day, I would say 70 to 80 after the first purchase. And then you're going to be doing again like a last chance offer expiring email, where you just double down on the urgency and saying the exclusive offer that we just made for you is about to expire. If you don't buy again, you're not going to be seeing this offer. So the filters when someone placed order, as I mentioned, and common mistakes is not knowing what users buy again. This is huge. So not knowing what users buy again, and not knowing when users buy again. So when you're setting up this post-purchase flow, you want to know what's the average amount of days between your first and second purchase, and also what users usually buy second. So based on that data, you can then set up these emails and set up all the post-purchase marketing, which will just enhance conversions. Also, just only using one channel is also a mistake. As I mentioned, you want to use email, you can use SMS, you can also use meta ads, you can also even test direct mail and see if if the emails don't work and you don't get much engagement, testing direct mail, and then not having anything else to sell. So I suggest you don't even set this up if you don't have anything else to sell yet, or if you sell like a non-consumable product. So for example, the example here, sea salt, I obviously want to have this flow set up because the people will come back for another purchase if they like the product. So here are some examples. So as I mentioned, here is, for example, the leather goods company, where we just provided like a routine of how they can take care of the leather. So some tips: perform regular cleaning, avoid harsh chemicals, use a leather cream. Just some tips, just to build some goodwill and make that shopping experience great. And then like educational email. So for example, if you sell perfume, like this brand does here, so where to spray perfume, just an educational email, post-purchase email. So that's it. I hope this video was useful for you. If you're currently running an e-commerce brand with at least 75K monthly revenue and you think you might need some help setting these email flows up, then there's a link in the description to book a call with me and we can see from there. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.